So we will look at the questions that are at the end, and we have, what is the nature of the boy's relationship with Magna's sister? How does he describe his feelings towards her? All right, well, here, okay, he doesn't say anything about her personality, okay? How could I tell her of my confused adoration? Adoration would be like you adore someone, you love them. Um, so we could maybe put that. He doesn't. Yet her name was like a summons to all my foolish blood. We could actually put that. The narrator says her name was like a summons. A summons is like a court would give you a summons if you have to go. Yet her name was like a summons. Yet her name was like a summons to all my foolish blood. And then we could say, this shows that he realizes that his feelings towards Anga's sister are foolish. Like, even he is somewhere in his mind, he knows this. And, or if she came out, her brother, we watched her shadow peer up and on the street. We waited to see if she goes or remains. Um, She waited for us, her figure defined by the light from half open door. So we could say, what is the nature of the boy's relationship? Boy watches her from a distance when she comes to get Manga, and he follows her to school. He had one conversation with her when they discuss Araby. When they discussed Araby. The narrator says her name was like this shows, and we could also say he only describes her figure in the story and never expresses any, we could say, any observations about her personality. He just likes the way she looks. What happens to the boy every time he thinks of her? Well, he feels foolish. He says he walks past her, gets nervous. They have a few casual words. We could say, he's just confused. We could say, I did not know whether he would ever speak to her. I might put that. We can say here, what happens every time the boy thinks of or sees Manga's sister, he is overcome with emotions that he does not understand. And we can say, Joyce writes, and then we could say, this shows that he does not know her on a personal level at all, and he doesn't understand how he could put into words what he feels about her. Therefore, his attachment towards her is, we could say, superficial, meaning he just likes the idea of her and the way she looks. Okay, now, in the story, we never know why he's living with his aunt and uncle. So he never mentions his parents. He says here, my aunt was surprised and hoped it was not some Freemason affair. The Freemasons, like I said, would have been like a secret society doing like revolutionary type things, and it wouldn't have been like police wouldn't have liked it. We could say they care for him because they are giving him money, food, a roof over his head. The aunt worries about him. Um, when the aunt, can't you give him the money and let him go? We've kept him late. So we can say, I'll use this as a quote. And so, am I right? James Joyce never discusses why the narrator lives with his aunt and uncle rather than his parents. The reader could assume that some type of tragedy befell the narrator's parents, or he could be attending school, so he lives with his aunt and uncle. Poverty poverty is known to have kept family members apart when one needed to go to a city location for school or work. And then you could add, it is obvious that the narrator's aunt and uncle care for him, though, as Joyce writes, can't you, um, as Joyce, actually, we could say, as his aunt says to the uncle, I'm just trying to work in a quote here. It is obvious that the narrator's aunt and uncle care for him, as his aunt, evidence, the evidence being, the evidence being when his aunt asks his uncle, can't you get him? And then I will say, the uncle responds apologetically, which shows that they genuinely care for the narrator and his emotional well-being, because this wasn't a necessity, him going to Araby. They like knew he had this crush on the girl and it was all kind of silly, but they didn't tell him no. They still, they gave him the money and stuff. What does Araby symbolize to the boy? Why does he go there, and what does he seem to think he will be able to accomplish? Araby symbolizes adulthood and adult relationships. This is my interpretation. You can interpret it however you want. I might say he views the trip as a way to win the heart of his crush, when in reality that is not what relationships are built on. We could also say Araby could also symbolize his journey from childhood into adulthood, because while he waits for his uncle to get home with his money, he watches his friends play outside. The narrator could have easily went outside with his friends, but he chose the path of what he thought was love. So you could say he thinks he's going to accomplish his love, but you could interpret this however you want. That's what James Joyce wanted people to do, to interpret what they thought Araby symbolizes to the boy. And then we could say, describe the boy's shopping experience. It's bad, obviously. If we go down here, he immediately forgets. So the boy immediately forgot why he was at Araby, which shows he was already disinterested in his crush. He then notices how teenagers flirt with each other when the girl running the market stand was conversating with two boys her age. They would have been like maybe in their early 20s, we could say, or late teens. We could say his quest, saying she seemed it like it was a sense of duty. I looked humbly at the Great Jars, it stood like Eastern Guards. That would be the reference to this quest. A quest being like something a children's game. We could say the narrator notes that the jars look like Eastern Guards, which shows his childlike imagination is still with him. And then, why did he accuse himself of vanity? So, vanity is obsessive achievement, appearance, material. We could maybe say the narrator is disgusted with himself at the end of the story. He states, let me move this. He states, I saw myself as a creature driven in I saw myself as a creature driven and derided by vanity. Then we can say this shows that he only wanted to have a girlfriend because he felt like it was an achievement for someone his age. He didn't really love Magna's sister because he never refers to her by her first name, nor does he know anything about her. So maybe that's why he felt this way. He's ashamed. And obviously, you can interpret these questions however you want, as long as you're using textual evidence, like I gave you these examples, how this would be the textual evidence, and then I just say what I think it shows. And as long as you're saying what you think it shows and using evidence, you wouldn't be wrong. Wait, the narrator could have easily gone outside with his friends. And that is for our questions for Araby by James Joyce, published 1914.